Is $50 possible? Yes, indeed, but I'm not going to put a date on it. Whether you like it or not, silverware is a major component. Don't forget, silver is not just a precious metal. I don't usually give a price projection because you're inevitably wrong. It could go to 49, it could go to 51, it could go to 35. But let's just put it this way. I think the time is right for silver. You mentioned a couple of things. Supply demand. It's been in deficit for the last 5-6 years, essentially, with respect to supply. Demand is projected to increase. You talked about Biden and the green programs coming up and the solar panels. Let's not discount, another very key component of growth in silver. And we're talking electric vehicles, and electric vehicles are certainly taking off. I think Mr. Musk would agree with that. He seems to be doing quite well with his Tesla shares. But so what's the projection essentially for, silver? Just in silver panels, in cars, they're projected to increase by a couple of 100 million ounces in the next couple of years over what they're using right now. And that essentially is going to put further pressure on the supply of silver. The world's largest supplier of silver is Mexico. Mexico essentially is in decline in terms of production. Part of that in 2020 was offset by COVID, so there might be a little bit of uptick in 2021, but overall there's been a steady decline over the last several years. There's very few true silver mines in the world. Silver is generally a byproduct of other commodities: copper, lead, zinc, gold. So to have a pure silver mine is a rare thing, and it's hard to find a silver company with pure silver deposits as well. Right now, our Candelaria project seems to be a pure silver project, but could there be other commodities further at depth which we have yet to explore? So people are projecting ongoing issues with respect to inflationary pressures coming into the United States post-COVID with an economic boom. They talk about the upticking in the Treasury 10-year yield. They talk about inflation, real versus nominal inflation. What's the answer? It's hard to figure out. It really is. But if you look at the government specifications for inflation, which are around 1 to 1.5%, maybe 1.7%. But what's the real inflation, in terms of what's going on behind the scenes? And if we do come out of COVID and there is an economic boom, where are all those trillions of dollars that have been injected into the economy going to go? Essentially, they're going to go into inflation, and generally will bode well down the road for gold and silver. Let's talk about $50 silver. When have we seen $50 silver in the past? We saw $50 silver in the 1980s. Hunt Brothers tried to corner the market, but that was due to massive inflationary pressures too. I mean, what did the inflation rates go up to? It was into the teens in the 1980s. And then we saw the 2008 stimulus packages, which really had an effect with respect to, shall we say, spending habits in the United States, etc. And what happened was in 2008, we saw a suppression of silver and gold, but in 2010, we saw it rise up to 2011 to $50 per ounce. And then, of course, the stimulus packages that have been put out with COVID, they make the stimulus package after 2008 look like a little blip, shall we say. So what is going to be the pressure on silver and gold? I mean, some people have called for 100 plus silver. Is $50 possible? Yes, indeed, but I'm not going to put a date on it. So but yes, indeed, it is possible. There's a real shortage on the delivery of physical silver right now, physical gold as well. There's issues with that. I mean, there was huge demand there in the run up over the last few months. That demand, I don't think it's really tapered off, but it certainly is still there. And they're still talking about shortages of physical silver. And, you can go down to your store and you can buy a silver coin if it's available, but you're paying 30-40% over spot in order to buy that silver coin. That wasn't always the case, but it is today. Is that going to continue? Well, supply demand. I mean, the Silver Institute, they talk about mine production. As I said, real silver mines are in decline, and easy silver, like easy gold, like easy copper, is more difficult to find. So it's going to get more expensive to mine, and not only will it get more expensive to mine, but the price of silver is going to increase, as is the price of gold. And that's my belief. I won't give you the exact date when that will happen. We're still struggling coming out of COVID, but there's going to be a major turnaround. The other big factor out there that with respect to silver prices, gold prices, they're both measured in US dollars. And the US dollar is an important component on essentially the world financial reserve. Without the, shall we say, continued faith in the US dollar, which it's been a little shaky lately, shall we say. So what happens when the US dollar decreases? Well, gold prices go up, silver prices go up. And if you have economy that's chugging away, then other commodity prices are going to increase as well. And those commodity prices, we've joked a little bit about, Goldman Sachs, but Goldman Sachs has predicted the beginning of a 10-year plus bull market in commodities, and that includes gold and silver.
Great question here. We'll start with Mike Foley. Says, what supply chain shortages could impact mining production moving forward?
As I said, there's very few pure silver mines in the world. So it's really a function of a byproduct of other mines in the world. And we see other mines in the world, some of them run into difficulty. We see governments disrupting supplies, removing licenses. So until we see a resurgence of a lot of copper mining, and people are talking about that now, but you don't see the new mines just coming in just yet. We see one of the biggest copper mine developments in the world, which is the Rio Tinto BHP Resolution mine in the state of Arizona. It's had its ups and downs with respect to the final permitting and the land swaps that are required. And even though they were given approvals under the previous U.S. administration, this administration has said, well, let's rethink this a little bit. So, when is that one going to be coming into production? And, how much silver is in that one? I'm not sure how much silver, but the one that I was working on in Mongolia, Oyu Tolgoi, had a significant silver component associated with it. But, that one's well into the mine life now, and that's not really new supply. So what's the supply chain going to be like? I mean, maybe there'll be a new discovery, but if there isn't a new discovery, we've been in deficit now for the last about 5 years, and we are projected to have increased demand. Don't forget, silver is not just a precious metal, it's an industrial mineral, and probably 65% of the use of silver is pure industrial. And electric vehicles, solar panels you mentioned, but for all of the Hollywood types out there, don't forget the vanity factor. Mirrors are extremely important with respect to the continued use of silver. And whether you like it or not, silverware is a major component, and it's actually increasing quite a bit in the medical industry as well. So the supply is increasing. People are really starting to appreciate it. Will the supply chain be there? Don't know, unless there's a major new discovery, and we'll see how things go.